Hello, welcome to News Central Television. I am Benga Aburowa. These are the top stories at this hour. 22 Delta lawmakers defect to APC. Tax reforms, Rivers crisis in focus as Senate resumed from Salah and Easter break. Togolese protesters march against constitutional changes that seek to keep President Faure Gnassingbe in power indefinitely. We'll bring you the details shortly. Begin the news from the legislative arm of government as the Senate resumed plenary on Tuesday, the 6th of May 2025, following the Salah and Easter breaks. The leader of the 10th Senate, Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, has stated that tax reform bills in the crisis in Rivers State will top the legislative agenda. He said the passage of the 4 tax reform bills has become imperative as they aim to overhaul the country's tax regime and increase the federation's revenue. This, he noted, would enable government at all levels to execute projects and deliver dividends of democracy. Opeyemi further revealed that the Red Chamber would collaborate with the executive arm to resolve political impasses across the country, particularly the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State, to ensure peace in the oil-rich state. The trial of the indigenous people of Biafra leader Nnamdi Kanu has been adjourned to May 7th. The adjournment came after the second prosecution witness took the stand, but the proceedings were interrupted. The prosecution could not continue the examination because key documents had not been served on the defense or the court. Presiding Judge Justice James Omotosho, however, adjourned the matter, given the prosecution time to properly serve the documents before the next hearing. Earlier, counsel for Nnamdi Kanu provided an update on the trial's latest development.
He started his testimony after the introductory. The prosecution realized that they couldn't go on because the documents they wanted to rely on were not served on the defense. And indeed, the court doesn't even have copy. So the court agreed to their suggested adjournment for tomorrow so that the documents will be served on the defense. And even as upon the service, what will happen tomorrow is just for the examination in chief of PW to continue, and then we will take our time, look at documents, and then commence our cross-examination of PW2. But in the main, like I always say, it is moving on swiftly.
News Central's correspondent Joshua Marai is on standby from the court to give us more updates on this trial. Thank you for joining us on the news, Joshua. Could you give us an update of the situation in the court? What was the atmosphere at the trial like?
Well, good afternoon to you, Benga. I must say that the two counsels held themselves in a very, very respectful manner for the justice James Motoshaw. So I was bringing your notice to the fact that before the trial commenced, before the proceedings commenced, as usual, the judge in charge of the case, Justice James Omotosho, called forth the wife of the younger brother of Nnamdi Kanu. It was said that during last proceedings before the adjournment, the wife of Nnamdi Kanu was caught recording in court with her phone, and she was actually live streaming. And the judge actually confiscated that particular phone and reprimanded her. But subsequently, they got to see that that same video was circulated on across social media platforms. It was discovered that even after the judge seized that particular phone, she went ahead to distribute that video. And the judge actually said he was going to hold her in contempt of court. It had to take the intervention of Nnamdi Kanu himself and the counsel representing Nnamdi Kanu, that is the person of Kanu Agabi, who pleaded on her behalf that the court should temper justice with mercy. And the court went ahead to bar her from 3 proceedings from now. That is to say, from 3 proceedings after now, she won't be allowed into the court premises, not even into the court itself. So that is the update as regards that. However, on the testimony of the second witness being brought forward by the DSS, when the witness was brought forward to the witness stand, upon commencement, they discovered that most of the documents relied on was not tendered, was not served on the defense counsel and even the court. Now, this raises question about the procedural process of the DSS coming forward to bring forward evidence. And if those evidence were not served to the court and to the counsel representing Nnamdi Kanu, to what weight would they hold in the court? So that was what all happened in court.
So, Joshua, can you confirm if the trial has been postponed, right, to tomorrow? So we shouldn't have any itches, and is it enough time for the defense to prepare, having been served this new evidence, as I believe? Hello, Joshua, are you there? Okay, we lost our correspondent, Joshua Maraya. Are you still there, Joshua? Okay, we'll get back to him during the course of our bulletins. 22 members of the Delta State House of Assembly from the People's Democratic Party, including the Speaker, have officially defected to the All Progressive Congress. At the Tuesday plenary, Speaker Emomotimi Guo gave reasons for their defections, making the 29 lawmakers of the House now APC members. Now, join us live to give an analysis of this latest development in the Delta State House of Assembly's new central correspondent, Austin Azu. Good afternoon to you, Austin. Could you tell us what's the latest with the defection of this lawmakers from the PDP to the APC? What reasons are they given for this defection? Hello, Austin. We seem to have some connection issues. Join in Austin Azu will join him during the course of this bulletin for on-the-spot analysis. Now, in the federal capital, Abuja, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved a policy mandating all federal ministries, departments and agencies to give absolute priority to Nigerian goods, services and know-how when spending public funds. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, revealed this to State House correspondents after Monday's Federal Executive Council meeting at the Astor Rock Villa in Abuja. The minister said the directive puts Nigeria at the center of every kobo the government spends, noting that an executive order to give it full legal force will be issued within the next coming days.
This is a proposal by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on what he calls the renewed hope Nigeria First policy, meaning that Nigeria is going to be at the center going forward of all business activities relating to this country. If there are any businesses to be done by anybody, the priority will be Nigerian first. If you have any local content, there is no reason for you to go outside this country to import. Now, this is in the form of an executive bill that will soon be issued by Mr. President. Already, Council has approved a set of those proposals, which I'm going to read to you, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has been directed to prepare an executive order to be issued by Mr. President. Now, this seeks to foster a new business culture that will be bold, confident, but also very, very Nigerian.
Former Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has described Nigeria's constitution as the most maligned document despite its profound and useful objectives. The former governor of Lagos spoke during the 30th anniversary lecture of Nasolahi El-Fati Nasfat held at the main auditorium of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research in Yaba, Lagos. Fashola, while speaking on the theme Faith, Social Justice and Economic Empowerment, Pathways to a Better World, submitted that the country's constitution is enabling as it has provisions for social justice and speaks to the kind of Nigeria every Nigerian yearns for. In a decisive move to tackle bullying in the nation's schools, the Federal Ministry of Education has unveiled a national policy on anti-bullying along with a detailed implementation guideline. The launch marks a significant step towards promoting safety and inclusivity in Nigeria's educational system. The policy, developed by a 21-member committee comprising key education stakeholders, outlines preventive strategies and accountability measures put in place to curb bullying and its harmful effects on students. The Minister of State for Education says it also provides a structured approach for schools to identify, address and manage bullying incidents effectively.
This policy comes at a critical time when the mental health, safety and dignity of our learners must be safeguarded across all learning environments. Bullying undermines not only the well-being of students, but also their ability to learn and thrive. The national policy on anti-bullying sets a clear framework for preventing and responding to all forms of bullying in schools, whether physical, verbal, psychological, or cyberbullying. It defines the responsibility of school administrators, teachers, students, parents, and community stakeholders. Most importantly, it promotes a culture of respect, empathy, and accountability. With the inauguration of this policy, we are not just adopting a document, we are committing to a nationwide movement for safer, more inclusive, and nurturing school environment.
Now, earlier we did bring to you a report that 22 members of the Delta State House of Assembly from the People's Democratic Party, including the Speaker, have officially defected to the All Progressive Congress, APC. Now join us for live updates on this latest situation with the Delta State House of Assembly's New Central correspondent Austin Azu. Good afternoon to you, Austin, and thanks for joining us. Please, could you give us the latest updates regarding this defection, and is there any reason behind this by the lawmakers?
Good afternoon, Benga. We are currently at the Assembly Complex, Delta State House of Assembly Complex in Asaba. Before now, this place was filled up with lawmakers, their aides, and other workers who are working here. But currently, right now, the place seems to be quite empty because plenary has ended and everyone seems to be going about their other businesses. However, the political landscape here in Delta State has changed since last week when the governor defected to the APC. And of course, the governor did say on that very fateful day that the lawmakers are going to defect as well, and including the councillors and the local government chairman. Of course, that of the House of Assembly members, which is the lawmakers, actually took place here today at the inner chambers of the Delta State House of Assembly. And the Speaker read a letter conveying the various members' resignations from the PDP, and they actually submitted a letter of resignation to the Speaker, which was read at the floor of the House. However, the Speaker, in course of his reasons for defection, according to what he read, that the lawmakers anchored it on the constitutions, and equally said that it was based on the fact that the crisis rocking the PDP in the South-South zone is one of the major reasons why they are defecting to the APC. This currently making the House, of course, we had 7 lawmakers who are APC before now, and we have currently 22 lawmakers, making it 29 lawmakers of the Delta State House of Assembly. And here currently means that the lawmakers, all of them are now members of the APC in Delta State. And in the coming days, we hope to see other defections from the local government areas where the 500 and something councillors will equally make their way into the APC as well.
Thank you very much, Austin Azu, for that update. You can effectively say that the entire legislative arm of the Delta State House of Assembly is now APC, and like Austin said, more to come in the following days, the local government chairman and councillors. Now, thank you, Austin Azu, for that report. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMC, has predicted a 3-day spell of haziness and thunderstorms across the country from Tuesday to Thursday. In its latest forecast, NIMC reported slight dust haze over parts of Katsina and Kano, with thunderstorms expected in Taraba and Adamawa states. Thunderstorms have also been anticipated over the Federal Capital Territory, Kogi, Kwara, Benue, and Nasarawa. Southern states, including Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Rivers, Bayelsa, and Lagos states, have experienced cloudy skies and isolated thunderstorms. Similar conditions have persisted in parts of Ogun, Osun, Ekiti, Ondo, Oyo, and Imo. NIMC has, however, advised residents to take precautions, especially those with respiratory issues, as dust particles remain in suspension. The agency also warned of strong winds, urging airlines and motorists to stay updated and exercise caution during adverse weather. You're welcome back. The federal government has approved the launch of the NIMC NIN Authentication for secure and seamless identity verification and authentication. Similarly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the use of NIN Authentication for verification and authentication across ministries, development departments, and agencies, according to a statement issued by NIMC spokesperson Kayode Adegoke on Tuesday. The move is in line with the Commission's mandate of regulating a reliable national digital identity for citizens and legal residents to affirm their identity. It says with NIN Auth, individuals can securely verify their identity and access key government services, including SIM registration and replacement, immigration applications and passport processing, as well as tax filings and financial transactions. The service will also facilitate access to government intervention programs and various MDAs and driver's license renewal and other regulatory processes. The House of Representatives Committee on Works has visited Lagos to inspect certain ongoing key federal projects. Among the projects inspected was the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which the chairman of the committee expressed satisfaction on the work done so far, while also asking the contractor not to relent on the good work done so far. News Central's lead correspondent Bernard Akede filed this report.
1 year since construction began on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, the project has recorded significant progress. During a site inspection, the chairman of the House Committee on Works expressed satisfaction with the pace and quality of work so far, urging the contractors to sustain the momentum.
And when I look at the books and see the amount that has been released to high-tech, you are doing more than has been released to you. It's true. When we look at the technicalities, like the width of the concrete, you are doing more than is in the design. So I want to appreciate you. This project is a legacy project of this administration.
The contractors, while highlighting the progress made, also noted some challenges that could potentially delay timelines. However, they reaffirmed their commitment to overcoming these hurdles and ensuring timely delivery.
If you see this place is swamp, even in most places that we've been coming from, we have swamps there, but here is a peculiar one. It's a peculiar situation whereby we have a compressible material called pit that is up to 12 meters. That is huge. So if you build on it in a hurry, it's going to sink. That means the whole money is going to disappear into the water. So we are looking at systematic ways to rebuild this section, the most feasible and cost-effective.
The inspection continued with brief stops at other critical infrastructure sites, including the Independence Bridge and coastal reinforcement works around Lagos Marina.
As you've heard, the last time this was done was like over 40 years ago since it was put there. And because of lack of maintenance culture, there hasn't been subsequent maintenance, and we've gotten to this point where there has to be an intervention, or else we're going to lose a lot of assets on this road.
The final stop was the Third Mainland Bridge, where the delegation assessed the completed maintenance work and visited the newly installed surveillance system. Again, the committee chair expressed confidence in the quality and sustainability of the project.
Now that we're in Lagos to take a look at the federal government projects by the Ministry of Works, I think it's important that we do a follow-up to see how far they've gone with this security architecture, security house, security room. And I want to say I'm impressed. The committee is impressed.
The committee emphasized the need for consistent legislative oversight to ensure that federal infrastructure investments translate into real value for citizens. In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akide.
Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State on Monday carried out a cabinet reshuffle. A statement by his special advisor and media, Sulaiman Olaruwaju, said the governor announced this in a letter signed by his chief of staff, Segun Ogunwuyi, in Ibadan, the state capital. Makinde said the movements are with immediate effect, urging them to continue to discharge their duties with utmost loyalty and commitment to the state. By the governor's action, the Commissioner for Public Works has been moved to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, while the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology has been moved to the Ministry of Establishments and Training. Meanwhile, the current Commissioner for Establishments will now lead the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. The Chief Judge of Gombe State, Halima Mohammed, has ordered the release of 85 inmates from Gombe and Biliri custodial centers. Between last Tuesday and Friday, the State Criminal Justice and Inquiry Committee, under the leadership of the Chief Judge, visited 4 custodial centers located in Gombe, Biliri, Cham and Chula. 42 inmates were released unconditionally. 38 inmates with conditions attached from Gombe Medium Custodial Center, while 3 inmates were freed unconditionally and 2 with conditions attached from Biliri Center. Speaking during the visits, the Gombe Chief Judge said the committee is focused on decongesting the custodial center and promoting inmate welfare. In what has been described as a significant move to ensure equitable distribution of development projects and the dividends of democracy to citizens at the grassroots level, the Kano State government has released a sum of 4.8 billion naira to 484 elected councillors from the 44 local government areas of the state. Governor Abba Yusuf, during a meeting with the councillors, informed them of the state government's plan to implement projects that will have direct impact on the well-being of residents of the state. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
These ward councillors, numbering 484, are from the 44 local government areas of Kano State. This meeting with the Governor Abba Yusuf is the first of its kind and has been converged to initiate inclusive development at the grassroots. The roofing is damaged, no chairs to sit, the paint is faded. Then it's your right, your responsibility to write and inform these infrastructures fixed. While emphasizing the importance of the ward councillors to grassroots development, the governor took time to clear the air over alleged misinformation making the rounds about the leader of the Konkosia movement and former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Konkoso. He dismissed the allegations by the former secretary to the state government, claiming that the former governor demanded 2 billion naira from the state coffers. He described the allegation as a height of political mischief, desperation, and dishonesty. He lacks intelligence. He lacks wisdom. How can you say the leader instructs the governor that every month he must be given 2 billion? This is madness. You have been in government for long and you didn't say a word. Just because you were fired, you cook up these lies. You are a big liar. I am saying that you are a liar. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso is not a cheat. The governor says that project expected to be implemented at the grassroots level at a cost of 4.8 billion naira include renovation of schools, drilling of boreholes, building of dispensaries, and award of local scholarships, amongst others. We have earmarked 4.8 billion for these projects. Your Excellency, you have increased the salaries of legislators, you have increased the salaries of civil servants, and you have even increased the salaries of pensioners. Thank you. Governor Yusuf tasked the councillors to come up with proposals of projects to be implemented in their localities that will have direct bearing on the lives of the people. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bakutu.
The 31st anniversary of South African Freedom Day marks over 3 decades of democracy and unbroken diplomatic relations with Nigeria. This year's dinner and gala night is aimed at fostering regional stability, economic growth and cultural exchange between both nations. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more.
The one-week event put together by the South Africa Consulate General in Lagos to commemorate South Africa's Freedom Day came to a close with a dinner and gala night, bringing together South Africans and Nigerians across various spheres of life. While economic collaboration has been a cornerstone of the diplomatic journey for both countries over the years, the South African government says this year's event is beyond economic cooperation. It says this year's event is aimed at building on the love and friendship that exists between Nigeria and South Africa.
Today it's about love, it's about breaking bread together between South Africans and Nigerians. It's about having a conversation as brothers and sisters about the future that we want, not only for ourselves, for the rest of the continent and those who will come after us.
However, many believe the diplomatic ties between both countries have strengthened their bilateral relations, especially as trade and investment initiatives have flourished in recent years, contributing to the economic development of each country.
The moments when we celebrate together and when we have events together, we get to know each other better, tensions are reduced, and economic participation is fostered. So it is my hope and expectation that the more interaction we have with each other across the continent, particularly between Nigeria and South Africa, the better we get to know each other and the better we can do business across borders.
There are a lot of businesses, South African businesses in Nigeria, like my bank. MTN is there, MultiChoice is there. So these types of events really help to show the relationships between both countries, essentially.
We are two great countries that are powerhouses that have so much to give for Africa. The other smaller countries are actually waiting on Nigeria and South Africa to lead the way. So the earlier we start to be cohesive and partner, the other countries we're going to help them grow up to meet the giants that we are.
The 31st anniversary of South Africa's Freedom Day remains a constant reminder of the historic triumph of democracy over apartheid and the resilience and unity that defines the South African journey. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
You're watching News Central now. We'll go on a quick break, and coming up, hundreds protest against changes to Togolese constitution. We'll bring you more on this after the break. In the Republic of Togo, hundreds of protesters on Monday marched in its capital, Lomé, against changes to the country's constitution. The rally came a day after leader foreigner Singbe assumed the new role with no term limits. Singbe, whose family has ruled Togo for nearly 6 decades, was sworn in on 3rd of May as the head of the majority in parliament held by his UNIR party. Opposition parties and civil society have criticized the move, describing it as a monarchical draft. Environmental activists and community groups in Johannesburg took to the streets in solidarity with coastal communities grappling with the destructive impact of ocean degradation and looming oil exploration issues threatening the livelihoods of small-scale fishers and fishermen and women and their families. News Central's Bengani Siziba reports.
Johannesburg, a city far from the sea, yet today voices rose through its streets in solidarity with coastal communities battling a silent but devastating threat.
Today we've gathered outside Total Energy's headquarters in South Africa, in Johannesburg, in solidarity with the court case that's currently taking place in the Western Cape, in Cape Town, but also to bring awareness to the various projects that Total is involved in, including the East African crude oil pipeline through Uganda and Tanzania, as well as its Cabo Delgado gas projects in Mozambique, and the relentless encroachment, corporate encroachment that we're seeing across the continent in pursuit of oil and gas and at the expense of our communities across the continent.
The threat is real. Ocean destruction, driven by unsustainable practices and an insatiable pursuit of fossil fuels, is eroding the very foundation of coastal life.
One of the things that worries us about the future of the oceans, first and foremost, is the coastal communities that depend on fishing as a source of living, as a way in which they've lived for thousands of years. Some of our African traditions, we practice it within the oceans, and also the biodiversity of the fish themselves to be able to be in the ocean. Some way, one way or the other, if an oil spill occurs, it then means that plenty fishes lives will be lost, but also not only that, the sustenance or sustainability of fish folk will not continue.
For generations, small-scale fishers have been the custodian of the coastline, their livelihoods deeply tied to the rhythm of the tides. Proposed oil projects along the coast pose a grave risk. Oil spills, disrupted marine ecosystem, and widespread pollution are not just distant fears, but looming realities.
Other people, they are fishing there on the sea. They get something to eat because we don't have jobs opportunity for people. And if the sea is going to be polluted, what they are going to eat? Because each and everything that is underneath is going to die.
For these families, fishing is more than a profession. It is a culture, heritage, and identity. It provides shelter, education, and a sense of community.
We know that they ask their profit. They don't care about our lives, our health, because all the things that they are doing, drilling the oil in the ground, it affects us. Today we are having droughts. It's because of that. You can see how people are dying at KZN with the drought and even at Eastern Cape.
Organizers of the protest say this is a reminder that the fight for oceans is a fight for people, for the right to a livelihood, to a healthy environment, and to preserve a centuries-old way of life. In Johannesburg for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Malawians are currently weighing the leadership records of former President Peter Mutharika and incumbent President Lazarus Chakwera ahead of the next presidential elections. These evaluations span several key performance indicators, including governance, economic management, social policies, and overall national impact. The comparison is significant as both Mutharika and Chakwera are widely expected to be the main contenders in the upcoming polls. Many analysts point to the stronger economic performance under Mutharika's previous administration. According to the Consumer Price Index in 2014, when it took office, Malawi's inflation rate stood at 23.7%. By 2019, the government had reduced it to a single-digit rate of 9.4%. You're watching News Now, News Central Television. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll bring you more stories. So stay with us. French President Emmanuel Macron has called for deeper and more reflective debates in assisted dying ahead of the National Assembly's upcoming discussion on a bill that would establish a legal right to end of life assistance. In a speech delivered to the Grand Lodge of France, Macron said the issue transcends a binary view of life and death, urging lawmakers and society to instead confront the notion of the lesser evil when addressing suffering at the end of life. The legislation, originally proposed before the Assembly's dissolution in June, has now cleared a key parliamentary commission following respectful yet uncompromising debate. Macron emphasized the need for dignity, individual autonomy and compassion, acknowledging the ethical dilemmas faced by patients, families and medical professionals in extreme circumstances.
Si d'un côté, il y aurait un humanisme qui voudrait le... Je lis aussi tout ce qui s'écrit ou se dit sur ce sujet. Ce n'est pas là un sujet, c'est un vertige qui touche chacune et chacun d'entre nous. Mais le débat résolument ne peut être réduit à la question de savoir si on est pour la vie ou contre la vie, ou si d'un côté il y aurait un humanisme qui voudrait le traitement et de l'autre l'abandon à la mort simplement. Non, comme vous l'avez bien posé, c'est la question du rapport à la mort aussi, à la souffrance et à la dignité humaine jusqu'à la dernière seconde.
Now in business, crude oil prices have plunged below $60 per barrel, raising hopes among Nigerians for a possible drop in petrol and diesel prices. However, markets has cautioned that any reduction will still depend on sustained stability of the new low prices. Brent crude traded at $59.80, with Nigeria's Brass River and Kwaibo at $64.60, over $10 below the 2025 budget benchmark of $75. The slump threatens federal revenue projections, intensifying concerns about budget feasibility, even as citizens anticipate potential relief at fuel stations due to the oil price fuel cost linkage. The Nigerian Immigration Service has flagged the passports of several former officials linked to the alleged mismanagement of nearly $3 billion allocated for the rehabilitation of Nigeria's three state-owned refineries, Port Harcourt, Kaduna and Warri. These follows the arrest of recently dismissed managing directors and top executives who are under investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. The breakdown includes $1.56 billion for Port Harcourt, $740 million for Kaduna, and $656 million for Warri refineries. The EFCC's extensive probe centers on questionable disbursements and alleged corruption tied to the failed quick fix maintenance efforts. South Africa's private sector showed signs of recovery in April, with the S&P Global Purchasing Managers Index rising to 50 points, up from 48.3 in March, and the first neutral reading since November 2024. The uptick signals stabilization as new orders, outputs and employment entered. Modest growth, improved supply chains driven by reduced congestion at Durban Port supported increased purchasing activity. However, input costs surged to an 8-month high due to a weakening rand. While business activity improved, optimism waned amidst political uncertainties, both at home and abroad, according to S&P Global's David Owen. Events at the upcoming 22nd National Sports Festival, scheduled for May 16 to 30 in Ogun State, will take place in the newly upgraded facilities by the Nigerian Cricket Federation. The turf wicket at the MKO Abiola Stadium Oval has been improved to meet international standards, ensuring fair play and quality experience for athletes. This upgrade is part of the NCF's wider infrastructure. Apologies for that mix-up. Nigeria's Adekoyejo Adegbeson delivered a surprising win at the 2025 Nairobi National Scrabble Championships held at Strathmore University in Kenya, competing against top-ranked Kenyan players including Alan Oyende, Nderitu Gitonga and Michael Gongolo. Adegbeson secured 12.5 wins and 355 cumulative points over 18 rounds to claim the title. Rongolo, Oyende and Wachira also finished with 12 wins each, but were ranked lower because of their lower cumulative scores. Adigbeson, who's also the Panasa president, became the first non-Kenyan to win the championship. This triumph is seen as a strong testament ahead of the upcoming Panasa President's Cup set for August. The Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL) has adjusted the kick-off time for the match day 37 clash between champions Remo Stars and Ikorodu City, initially set for 3 p.m. The fixture will now begin at 3 p.m. on Sunday, May 11. The changes aimed at ensuring safe travel for fans and dignitaries attending the match in the trophy presentation in Ikere. Many attendees are expected to travel from Lagos, and the earlier time supports a safe return in daylight hours. Preparations for the post-match ceremony are in full swing, with NPFL and Remo Stars officials working closely to ensure colourful celebration. The event will be broadcast live in Star Times and the NPFL live platform. Barcelona's striker Robert Lewandowski has been cleared to return from a hamstring injury, but will begin on the bench in Tuesday's Champions League semi-final leg against Inter Milan. The 36-year-old missed 4 matches, including a Copa del Rey final and the 3-3 first leg draw after picking up the injury with a win over Celta Vigo. His return boosts Barcelona's hopes of reaching the first Champions League final in 10 years. However, they will be without full backs Jules Koundé and Alejandro Balde due to injury, forcing defensive reshuffling. Manager Hansi Flick may turn to centre-backs Ronald Araujo and Eric Garcia or promote new players. Barcelona, currently Liga leaders, face Real Madrid in the title-deciding clash on Sunday. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. 22 Delta lawmakers have defected to the APC. Tax reforms, Rivers crisis in focus as Senate resumes from Salah and Easter break. We also told you that Togolese protesters march against constitutional changes that seek to keep President Faure Gnassingbé in power indefinitely. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. With News Central TV, you can watch us on DSTV channel 42, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, AVO TV, and YouTube.